What's up, everybody? Wes Hodkowitz here, joined alongside my partner at Packers.com, Mike Spofford, to preview the Green Bay Packers and Cincinnati Bengals at Lambeau Field. We are back after the bye. Week 6?
Six.
Okay, all right, cool. Just double checking. Mike and I are here for the next 10 to 15 minutes answering all of your questions on the Packers Facebook, X, and YouTube account. You can submit those there, and I will bounce them off this guy here to my right. As we let those questions populate, Michael, and again, previewing this 3:25 p.m. Central Start Time matchup on Sunday, the Green Bay Packers did announce their injury report, their final injury designations for Sunday's game. It was a lengthy list. There were 3 players that have been ruled out. That includes Devontae Wyatt, who did not practice this week, also Anthony Belton, Christian Watson. I'll explain all the contingencies with that shortly. 6 players are questionable, including 3 starting offensive linemen. Rasheed Walker, who did return to practice on Friday, working through a quadricep issue. You have Zach Tom. You also have Aaron Banks. Kicker, Brandon McManus, questionable for this one, was a limited participant all week long. Did tell the media on Thursday he plans to play. Wait and see how this all shakes out on Sunday. And then also Nate Hobbs, working through the concussion protocol, is questionable. And finally, Jacob Monk, with a hamstring, is questionable. Both Monk and Christian Watson, in Watson's case, physically unable to perform list. In Monk's case, the IR that he had, designated to return in that regard. So as far as Monk is concerned, in order to be added to the 53-man roster, would need to happen before the game in order to play. So those are all the things that happen with some of the reserve list stuff to consider. A number of things, too, on the Cincinnati Bengals side of things. I'll spare you the details on that, but one interesting note, Jamar Chase was actually added to the injury report on Friday with an illness, did not practice, and he's questionable. So that's a lot of information, Michael. I'll throw it at you, just starting, most particularly with the kicking situation, a very unique situation for Green Bay to be in.
Yeah. Brandon
McManus, again, addressing the media on Thursday, had said he was going through practice, his warm-up process, felt a little bit of tug on his quad. He said it's something that kind of happened to him back in 2022 while he was kicking for Denver.
Yeah.
Ended up going through the week, didn't kick much, but did play in that game on Sunday, and again, is planning to play in this one here against the Bengals.
Yeah, he sounded pretty confident he was going to be able to work through this and be good to go by Sunday afternoon. And he mentioned that game back in 2022. I believe he said it was against the Ravens, and he actually, kicked a couple of lengthy field goals in that game. Didn't really have any issues. So he's confident in where he is, but we'll see just where things stand on Saturday. If there are any serious questions about it, I would think, even though the Packers do have Mark McNamee on the practice squad as another kicker, I would think the Packers would potentially sign another kicker off the street, so to speak. A veteran guy who's been in the NFL. There are a few of those guys out there who are not on teams currently, so they would have another option if they really feel by Saturday afternoon there's a question as to McManus's availability.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the Packers having 2 roster spots currently open. They're only at 51 players. You can add somebody, and this has happened twice. If you go back in many years ago, Drew Kaiser, who was a punter for many years for the Chargers, was sort of the fill-in, while J.K. Scott ended up having 2 situations where I believe him and his wife were expecting, and Kaiser was on hold just in case J.K. was not able to fly in and get in for the game. In both cases he did. Kaiser never ended up playing for the Packers, but they had that roster spot available, and they made that move. So things to kind of keep an eye on in terms of how that could all shuffle out.
And we know there will at least be 1 roster spot available because the Packers are not activating Christian Watson this week. They've already ruled him out. Mm-hmm. He is not being placed on the 53 in order to play in this game. So regardless of what happens with Jacob Monk, there's going to be that spot there because Watson is not being activated.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, this is the business of sports that when I broke in, you never really had to consider much.
Yeah.
But now it's changed. I mean, with all the practice squad stuff, designated to return. My first year on the beat was actually the first year it was introduced with Cedric Benson. If that's a bar trivia question for you. The first ever player, rest in peace, that was ever a designated to return, and that had to happen the moment that he actually signed. So, be that as it may, not the moment he signed, but the moment he went on IR.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the rules are all different. There's been this evolution to all these rules with IR and bringing guys back and and how it's all supposed to work, and they continue to tweak them and change them, so it feels like we're always learning new rules every year.
Bring me through one more thing, if you can, while I let some questions populate here. When you look at the Packers' offensive line situation, a very unique situation that they've been pressed into. A lot of different guys have played in a lot of different combinations, but the locker room this week, I know one of the sentiments, we'll have to see how it all shuffles out on Sunday, but the idea of Green Bay finally getting back to their starting five, and it was almost interesting listening to Adam Stenavich talk at the podium on Thursday night, almost a smirk on his face. They've really only had their starting group together for like 3 quarters, and that includes going back to training camp for the most part.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a grind trying to find, a spot for them to finally have that consistency. Could they be getting closer?
It feels like they're getting closer, but then every time you think they are, then something else kind of crops up. And this week it's been Rasheed Walker, and we'll see if he can work through things to be available on Sunday. But it's just funny how this goes, right? Because last year there were almost no injury issues on the offensive line at all for the bulk of the season, and then you had something crop up in the wild card game, and it kind of bit the Packers, at the wrong time, at a bad time. So maybe the fact that they're dealing with these injuries now, other guys are getting playing time, they're dealing with the shuffling around and all that. If things eventually settle down here, hopefully by mid-season, and then they get on a roll, you'd always rather deal with these injuries early in the year than the way it cropped up in the playoffs last year for that offensive line group.
All right, there's so many great questions already funneling in. Let's just start with this one too from Galurg. I don't even know what that means. How has Josh Jacobs looked as the season has gone on with the revolving offensive line? I think you saw how that game ended, or really the entire game against Dallas, but specifically in that second half.
Yeah.
It seems like they had, in some ways, found something there. Obviously, I think the last 2 weeks, Emmanuel Wilson's been running really well, but trying to get the run game going from the start behind Jacobs has really been the big emphasis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Packers would like to be able to do that right out of the gate in one of these games coming up. Hopefully that will be Sunday against the Bengals. But just the way things have gone, defenses have taken the field against Green Bay early in games more concerned about Jacobs than with the passing game. And when the Packers have made them pay in the passing game, then you see Jacobs, things start to loosen up for Jacobs. It happened in week 1 against Detroit. He had over 50 yards rushing in the second half against the Lions after a tough first half. We saw it again against the Cowboys. And against the Cowboys, it really was, as you said, kind of the 1-2 punch of Jacobs and Wilson, both running the ball really well. After halftime in that game, the running game opened up because the Cowboys were having trouble with the Packers' passing game. So, hey, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And the last thing you want to do is just start running your running backs into brick walls just to try to make some kind of a statement. That's not how you win football games.
I have a comment in Insider Inbox tomorrow too, which in a few moments you'll be editing. When you look at right now the way that Cincinnati is really orientated, there actually hasn't been a lot for the Bengals to hang their hat on. But one thing to keep in mind, they actually are tied for 6th in the NFL right now in interceptions. 29th against the pass, but they've found ways to take the ball away. Last week, too, I honestly think they didn't really defend the run that poorly against Detroit. The Lions had to run the ball a lot to get 116 yards out of that thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the reason I say these things is you cannot just look at the Bengals' record. You can't just look at these last 3 games and expect to be able to run through them. It's going to take a lot of work to get there, and you have to earn that opportunity.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Willie on Facebook. Hey, guys, who gets the first sack, Rashawn Gary or Micah Parsons? I'm sure both of these guys are champing at the bit for that sack, but
no doubt.
Listening to Parsons this week, and after the gazelle that was Joe Flacco got away from him in that game against Cleveland, I think you can tell that that's still a name that he wants to add to his list.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the pass rush here is going to be interesting because of Flacco coming in, trying to get up to speed in Zach Taylor's offense, and the fact that Flacco has already faced Green Bay. The only success Flacco really had throwing the ball, now that was with the Browns offense, but the only success he had throwing the ball against Green Bay's defense was to get the ball out quickly, right? I expect him to do that again with the Bengals, which is why I think it's going to be difficult for the Packers to really generate the type of pass rush that they'd like to. If the quarterback is just taking 3-step drops and getting rid of the ball, I don't care who you are rushing the passer, unless you are literally unblocked, you are not going to be able to impact the play. But that being said, when you have Jamar Chase and you have T. Higgins, as much as Flacco might play the quick game, they're going to pick their spots where they're going to say, okay, we're going to go max protect, we're going to send our guys, and we're going to take our shots, right? And so those are the opportunities then where maybe Parsons or Gary or Carl Brooks on the interior, whoever it might be, is going to have a chance to get home.
He's Mike Spofford, Wes Hockwitz. Packers preview brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. 3:25 p.m. Central Start Time, a game that is on CBS this Sunday. I need to make sure I work that in there. The Packers and Bengals, Green Bay looking to move to 3-1-1 on the season, while Cincinnati trying to end a 3-game slide. Brian on Facebook, this kind of dovetails into what you just talked about, but there's a couple comments I want to add to it. How do you expect Joe Flacco to play the same or different than when we saw him a few weeks ago? I really enjoyed what Micah Parsons had to say on this topic, and honestly, Evan Williams too. You give credit to Flacco. He won that game. You know, the Cleveland Browns won that game. They found a way in the end to come out victorious in what ended up being Cleveland's only win so far on the season. But as Evan Williams talked about, they gave up 130-odd yards to him in that matchup in terms of the passing game.
Right.
Micah Parsons even said, I mean, it was a pretty, not to put words in his mouth, but in my own estimation, kind of a rudimentary, you know, as going back to what Parsons said, check down, out, out. It was pretty basic with what they were trying to do in that game against the Browns. What will be interesting in this one, with a guy that's coming in, it'll end up being, 5 days or 4 days that he'll been with the team when he actually starts against Green Bay, is now you do have Jamar Chase, if he's available with the illness. You do have T. Higgins. How does he go about utilizing an upgraded receiving core? Now, obviously, that changes if Chase doesn't play in this game, but assuming he does get out there, those are the two faces of this football team, regardless of the passing game. That's your pillars right now, especially without Joe Burrow.
Sure.
Joe Flacco has been brought in to feed those pillars.
Yeah, and like I just said, I think the Bengals are going to pick their moments to take their shots, because when you have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, you have to give them some opportunities throughout the game to make plays down the field. But I can also see quite a bit, especially with Chase, if he's able to play, because of his run after the catch ability and his elusiveness. They could bubble screen the Packers to death in this game. Sure. It could be just take the snap, fire it to the outside, get blockers in front of him, and see. And that's why I've sort of been saying all week long, I think the tackling for the Packers on defense is maybe more important in this game than the pass rush or some of these other things that we like to talk about, because I thought the Packers tackled really, really well the first 3 weeks of the season. Couple of missed tackles in Cleveland that hurt them, but on balance, first 3 games the Packers defense tackled really well. They had some of those plays, some tackles get away from them against Dallas, and that was not the only thing, but it was part of the reason that Dallas was, starting to generate so much momentum offensively. Get back to the tackling team that you were in the first couple weeks of the season. I think it's going to be really important in this game.
Yeah, okay, we'll go over here to YouTube. I'm going to ask you this question. I want to see if you even have any idea what I'm talking about.
Probably not.
This is from Jake Reynolds on YouTube, courtesy of Packers social media intern extraordinaire Ellie Culver. Who is Bert? Do you have the slightest idea who Bert is?
The only Bert I know is Ernie's good friend. So if you're talking about any Bert other than that, clue me in.
How many times have you signed in to Instagram in your life? 0. How many times have you signed into any of our social media platforms? So Bert, I got to give our social media department credit for this. So Bert is a giraffe that they have brainstormed and created and built memes around on the Packers Instagram account.
Okay.
So I know when you were breaking into the industry way back when with the Wausau Daily Herald and the Green Bay Press Gazette, I'm sure when you thought about where your career was going to take you, it was individuals like, let's see here if I can get it all brought up to you so I can actually show you exactly what it is.
Oh, there he is.
Yep. the greatest, or not even the greatest, just the giraffe of all time.
Giraffe of all time.
And then people loving the giraffe. That has almost 10,000 likes on Instagram.
Okay.
I don't even have 5,000 followers on Instagram. That just shows you how crazy this world has gotten. I'm glad we were able to share that moment together. All right, couple more questions here. This is Michael on Facebook. McManus said he had a tug in his leg and should be good to go Sunday. What is our emergency plan if for some reason he can't kick later in the game? We do not know exactly what that plan is, but Rich Bisaccia said there is a plan. Now, again, as you were outlining earlier, Packers could sign a kicker. They could add a kicker. They could have 2 kickers up. Let's just say, for the lack of argument here, that isn't what happens. Let's say Brandon McManus feels he's good to go. Daniel Whelan, this came up as a topic this week. Daniel Whelan actually has kind of a background in that. Definitely in the kickoff. There's a part of me that's sort of preparing no matter what for Daniel Whelan to be the one kicking off. But if it comes to it, he could potentially be utilized in that capacity as well. I know it's happened already in the league this season.
Yeah, it has.
With the punters.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened to other teams, and you're right that Whelan does have some experience with place kicking, and it certainly wouldn't surprise me at all if Whelan is the one kicking off in the game on Sunday. But as far as what the backup plan is. They're not revealing it to us. If Daniel Whelan needs to kick a field goal, the Packers do have a backup holder. Mm-hmm. He's not listed on the depth chart. We don't know exactly who it is, but trust me, they have one. But again, I think what either happens or doesn't happen on Saturday afternoon is going to clue us in because that's when, whether it's elevating McNamee from the practice squad, whether it's signing another kicker to be available on Sunday, sometime on Saturday afternoon, whether something does or does not happen, that's going to tell us what's up with McManus.
Steven Sands on Facebook. What can we expect out of Golden this game and the rest of the season? Mike, you had to listen to me routinely talk about explosive plays in Matthew Golden. We finally got one of the big ones, 46 yards in Dallas.
Even though Dontavian Wicks tried to steal it from him. No, I'm just kidding.
Two guys in one area of the field. Yeah. But, Golden came through with the ball.
Yeah.
I've said it time and time again. I'll say it one last time now. The guy and the way he attacks the football with his hands is special. There's a lot for Matthew Golden to learn, and there's still going to be a lot for him to grow in his game. But that's one of those things that you cannot coach. You can get better at it, but that natural instinct for him to confidently pursue the football. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the trait of the elite wide receivers in this league, and I think Matthew Golden has that.
I think he has it too, and it's been impressive to watch. We talked a lot about him in terms of his suddenness with his movements, right? Whether it's off the line of scrimmage, trying to take off against a defensive back, that kind of thing. He's also, as you talked about with attacking the football, there's a suddenness with his hands, the way he suddenly makes them appear to snatch the ball out of the air. And as you said, it's not something you can coach. It's something that guys sort of have it innately and they develop it, over time. I don't know if I've ever seen a Packers rookie wide receiver have that trait on display right away. We've seen guys develop it over time. Whether you're talking Greg Jennings or Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, we saw it with all of them at some point. But Matthew Golden might be the first one where we've seen that with his hands right away as a rookie.
Briggs Helmley from Little Swamico. Are we due for more Luke Musgrave through the air in 12 personnel?
That's an interesting question, actually. Everybody's always talking about, doesn't Tucker Kraft, need to get a bunch of targets every game? And, when is Luke Musgrave going to get involved? Shouldn't Josh Jacobs be catching screen passes? It's yes, and yes. There are a ton of weapons. There are a ton of mouths to feed in this offense. And, I don't play fantasy football, so I don't get into the individual statistics in the individual games. I've you and I have both covered all of Matt LaFleur's tenure as a head coach. His game plans are very opponent specific. He devises the game plans and uses the players that he feels have the best chance of defeating the opponent based on the way that opponent likes to play. So it's a week-to-week thing. And yeah, Luke Musgrave might get 5 catches for 85 yards on Sunday. He also might get 1 catch for 5 yards, and all those other targets are going to go to other guys. There's no way to predict it, because I'm not sitting down and figuring out the X's and O's in terms of, okay, who are the best weapons to use and what are the best route concepts to use against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. That's what these coaches know. That's what they study, and that's how they build their plans.
I want to mention this before I show the wonderful game day program for Sunday. I was just getting a message here from our social media manager, Renee.
Renee? Oh, is she mad at me?
No, she's great. She's doing wonderful. No, I don't think she's mad at me either.
Okay.
She wants you, the viewer, to go to the Packers Instagram account right now and like the Burt post. We have to get the Burt post above 10,000 likes. We're at 9,756. We got to get that to 10,000.
10,000, okay.
When we're done with this, I'm going to grab your iPhone 4, and we are going to sign you up for an Instagram account so you can go like the Burt post.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Deal. So the Green Bay Packers and Cincinnati Bengals play Week 6, Lambeau Field on Sunday, 3:25 p.m. Central Start Time. That means, Mike, if we're at home, I'm editing a game program alongside Nicole Tim. This week's program, you guessed it, Micah Parsons, Nate Hobbs, and Aaron Banks, the Packers' 3 big acquisitions, not only in the offseason, but as it turned out, also into August.
Yeah.
Joining the Packers, a wonderful game program. Be sure to pick that up here at Lambeau Field on Sunday, where all your game programs are sold. Okay, last 2 questions. This one I'm going to give over to... Sorry, Renee's making me laugh. This one's from Eric. Actually, I'll take this one and then I'll give you the next one.
All right.
Do you think Jordan Morgan will be able to hold up against Trey Hendrickson if Walker can't go? We will see as far as what the Packers' active game day roster, the 48 on game day roster look like. I always want to shield against being an alarmist, right? I don't think there's a reason to necessarily be alarmed with Rasheed Walker. The fact that he didn't go back in practice today, I think, is a positive sign. If there was really an issue there where he was limited on Wednesday and then didn't practice Thursday and didn't practice Friday, that's where it starts to be like, okay, what exactly is going on here? They're offensive linemen. They deal with things. That's not to say he's playing on Sunday, but I just don't think, don't worry your little head all weekend being like, okay, what's going to happen? This is what the game is. Now, that being said...
Yeah, and I'll just throw in another... It's also remembering that when the players get done with all of their work, the on-field, full-speed practice work on Friday, you're 48 hours until kickoff. So, and that 48 hours is when we're doing all this, speculation and talking about things. But that's actually, for something that's a minor injury, that's a lot of time for a guy to get treatment, to work on things, and to try to get his body to where he feels like he can either give the coach the thumbs up or the thumbs down as to whether he's good to go.
And also in Banks and Tom's case, both of those guys speaking with the media this week, saying they feel like they're in a good place as well.
They both feel pretty confident.
Tom specifically is a big one just based on he did try to get out there, and then obviously when you're feeling guys, in bull rushers coming at you, it's a different experience than if you're just doing some stuff in practice.
Right.
That's where it really comes to test. He feels like he's ready for that. The Green Bay Packers, Cincinnati Bengals, for the Packers to get to 3 wins, what needs to happen on Sunday?
I mean, for me, this game, I expect the Packers offensively to be able to move the ball pretty consistently against a struggling Cincinnati defense. The last 3 weeks, teams have put up a lot of points against the Bengals. Now, that's also partly because their offense hasn't done much. Their offense has turned the ball over too much and those kinds of things. But I'm kind of going to say the same thing that I said heading into the Dallas game. When I see a game where I think the Packers offense is going to move the ball, then it comes down to being able to finish drives and not get bogged down and have to kick field goals and all that. Take the ball the length of the field and finish the drive and get touchdowns. And they did that plenty against Dallas, obviously. It was just things on the other end that didn't quite go their way, and they ended up in a shootout. So, you do that in this game against the Bengals, you'll come out on top.
Absolutely. And for me, I've said it all week. I'm going to say it one last time. The Bengals, regardless of who's at quarterback, 11 giveaways so far this season. The Packers at 2 takeaways. I feel like something has to give. And if I were to ponder up and consider what that outcome could be, I think I have faith in this Green Bay Packers defense to get some takeaways in this game against Cleveland. And conversely, from Green Bay's perspective, also play a clean football game and protect the football.
Yeah.
He is Mike Spofford. I am Wes Hockwitz. Daniel Lopez was behind the camera. Packers Preview, brought to you by Microsoft Copilot. Tons and tons and tons of content up on Packers.com. My story posted today looking at Micah Parsons and his Be Phenomenal or Be Forgotten line that he pulled from Eric Thomas, I believe it was, E.T., motivational speaker. In that message he relayed to the Packers defense. Mike focused in on Jordan Love and Packers offense, looking to spice things up here, keep things going, play some good football going into Sunday against the Bengals. Also, we'll have tons of stuff up over the weekend. Packers.com, Packers mobile app. And until next time, for Mike Spofford, I'm Wes Hockwitz. We'll see you later.